Imagine waking up one day and realizing that your web host has charged you $100,000 for the past 4 days worth of bandwidth that was a bit higher than expected. And not only that, you apparently thought it was on supposedly a free tier of the service. Well, that's exactly what happened to someone on Reddit. They had an account with a company called Netlify, which apparently is pretty popular. It's a serverless service where you can host websites without having to set up a server. They kind of do all the back-end stuff. Anyway, I'll get to their pricing structure later, which is interesting to say the least. And when the guy reached out to customer support, they agreed that this was probably the result of a DDoS attack, a denial of service attack, because apparently one file that was like a few megabytes, it was like a sound file, had been downloaded however many times it takes to get to 190 terabytes. And then customer support ended up saying, we normally discount these kinds of attacks to about 20% of the cost, which would make your new bill $20,900. I've currently reduced it to about 5%, which is $5,225. I know this is still a lot of money, and I apologize for the inconvenience. Oh, how kind of them for only charging him $5,000. Now, you might be thinking, now, wait a minute, maybe it's his fault in some way. He didn't set up any safeguards on the site to protect against DDoS, or he didn't have any limits set in his account, something like that. But those do not seem to be the case. One person on Twitter, for example, pointed out that on the Netlify security page, it says, active DDoS mitigation. Netlify monitors for traffic pattern anomalies and spikes and effectively controls for them as needed. So you have a customer who's been a customer for 4 years, and he says that none of his months have ever gone even above 10 gigabytes, and then all of a sudden, it hits over 60 gigabytes on one day and 190 terabytes over 4 days. I don't know. Do you think that might be a DDoS? But in my opinion, the craziest thing, which a lot of people were tearing the company apart about, is how they deal with their pricing structure. If you look on their basic pricing page, it shows a couple plans, and there's the starter plan, which kind of implies that it's like the free tier. It says $0 to get started and then pay as you go. So effectively the first 100 gigabytes are free. And apparently you don't even have to provide any payment details to sign up for this account. Then if you look at the more detailed pricing table, it also includes the fact that if you go above the 100 gigabytes, it's an additional $55 per 100 gigabytes. Now you might think, like I would have, that maybe considering it's like says $0 to start off and you don't even have to provide any payment details at the start, that okay, you get 100 gigabytes. If you kind of pass that, they probably take down your site until you pay up or something like that, right? No, they don't. They just start charging you, and it's unlimited upside on pricing. So if you were thinking before, okay, well, why didn't this guy have some kind of limit set in his account? Well, if you go down to the frequently asked questions, it says, can I set a limit of metered features and have it shut off when the limit is reached? No, Netlify does not offer automatic feature shut off. So there's literally not even any way to protect against this. They claim that they have this DDoS protection, but apparently it doesn't always work. Now, the CEO of Netlify did reply to the thread where this was posted on Hacker News, and they did end up saying, we're gonna not charge this customer, we're gonna forgive this, and that is usually what they do for situations like this. Specifically, he said, our support team has reached out to the user from the thread to let them know they're not getting charged for this. It's currently our policy to not shut down free sites during traffic spikes that doesn't match attack patterns, but instead forgiving any bills from legitimate mistakes after the fact. Apologies that this didn't come through in the initial support reply. Though I am a bit confused how they didn't detect this as an attack pattern, considering the customer service person seemed to see that it was pretty obvious. But throughout the rest of the thread on Hacker News, Reddit, and Twitter, everyone was basically just tearing this company apart, criticizing the fact that there is no way to limit it on the upside. And there was also a ton of replies of people who were saying they didn't realize this could be the case, and they were definitely moving off of Netlify because they were on the free tier probably and didn't know that, well, I'm not even going to take the chance and just hope after the fact that they're going to recognize it as an attack. And in my opinion, one of the sketchiest things is that this has been a concern for customers for years. So even in a Twitter statement that they made after this kind of went viral and they were in damage control mode, they mentioned this situation has reinforced the urgency of our ongoing work to put safeguards in place in our billing system to ensure that this never happens again. So they're saying it reinforced the urgency of our ongoing work to put in safeguards. So they're saying this is very urgent for us. We've already been working on it to make sure this never happens. Meanwhile, nearly 4 years ago on their forum, someone literally posted about this potential problem, being afraid of unlimited usage costs, and asked if there was any way to limit it. And their response, the way I interpreted it, at least in my opinion, basically they said to not worry about it because that probably won't happen. And I'm paraphrasing, you can read it yourself. So it's taking over 4 years of ongoing urgent work to implement safeguards for billing that plenty of other companies have been able to use. Yeah, I don't buy that. Someone else on Twitter also replied with a chart that apparently shows the pricing of 1 terabyte of bandwidth above whatever the free tier would be and what that would cost for various providers. And Netlify turns out to be the most expensive. So a lot of people are accusing them of basically doing a cash grab where you have this ceiling that you can't actually set a limit at, and then they just collect money from people who don't realize they're going over. So I guess the point of the story is to maybe check what service provider you're using and make sure you do have limits set and that you can actually do that, because you don't know what might happen if something goes wrong. And other than that, it's just kind of a crazy story in general. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Are you using a different service? Are you glad about that? Maybe you don't have limits set that you are gonna do now. If you can, we can talk about that down in the comments. If you want to keep watching, the next video I'd recommend is where I was talking about a new malware strategy from hackers that is so tricky it's actually targeting programmers and Linux users. I'll put that link right there you can click on. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.